Hello and welcome to the Georgia Bulldogs Live here on the Georgia Voice of College Football. I'm your host, Matt Green, and that is my co-host over there, Bo Underwood. Bo, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Matt. How are you, man?
Can't complain, man. Nice little 3-day weekend. I don't know if that means anything to you, the recent college graduate over there, but Memorial Day was a good time.
Yeah, always, man. It's always nice to have that weekend. Did you do anything special?
Not really. Had a little family get together, one of my in-laws or my brother's in-laws on Sunday, and then went to a 1-year-old birthday party on Saturday. So, a little active weekend. Then Monday is that wind down day. I did see on Monday, I saw that Friendship movie.
Oh, I
With
saw
Tim
that.
Robbins. Did you watch
Yeah,
it?
I saw that yesterday, actually.
What'd you think about it?
I thought it was good, man. I liked it.
It was I definitely laughed. So I'm not gonna no spoilers here on the movie that just came out, but it was a different movie for sure.
Yeah,
But I definitely laughed. It was that's what we did on Monday.
yeah. I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Um but from a Braves perspective, we got Ronald Acuna back, so I'm
Yes,
definitely
sir.
excited about that.
That was awesome.
I noticed I was telling people all week. I was just like, I'm afraid to admit I might be more of a Ronald Acuna fan than a Braves fan at this point because it's been tough to watch the Braves the last couple months. But once Acuna's back in the lineup, I'm like, okay, I can't miss an AB. This dude's about to go yard, and then he does. First pitch, he's back, goes yard. So it was pretty sick.
Yeah, you can't make something like that up. Like that was insane, dude. That's one of those insane moments I've ever seen in baseball.
It really was. It
It's
reminded me of the Jason Hayward's first game with the Braves,
yeah.
that first swing he had,
Mhm.
the 3-run bomb. Um, I always joked about this. Chip Carey, he had like the perfect call on that, and it felt like he was trying to recreate that call for the rest of his career. And it was a swing and a drive. And it's just
Oh,
like,
like
Chip,
every single time.
settle down a little bit.
Every fly ball that any Braves player ever hit, swing,
Yeah.
and it's caught, and
He
like
nailed it with Jason Hayward's opening day home run, but it felt like he was trying to recapture it for a decade after that.
I agree with that.
And you know who it reminded me of also? The greatest touchdown that never counted that all Georgia fans remember
Todd Gurley.
is Todd Gurley. Yeah, in his return against Auburn, taking it back, doing the bow to the fans. That's been passed down now. DeAndre Swift did that at one point. Nate Frazier did it. So that Todd Gurley was just legendary. Best Georgia player of my lifetime.
He was awesome, man. Maybe.
But let's get started, sir, with the show today. Oh, first, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, all that good stuff. Get your business, personal brand out there. Partner with sponsorships at Voice of College Football. It's good stuff. Follow that guy over there on Twitter, Bo Underwood _ I messed it up. Bo Underwood _ I am Matt _W _green. So watch out for those underscores. They'll get you. But let's get into the show tonight, sir. So ESPN recently released their top head coach rankings in college football. There was some sort of panel because they had 12 people, and this is a separate conversation, but we'll get there. Kirby Smart, almost the unanimous number one. 11 of the 12 first place votes. I scroll down the top 10. I have a theory here. I scroll down the top 10 and it didn't say any of those other guys got a first place vote. So I don't know who got the other first place. I'm thinking maybe Deion Sanders. Maybe someone, voted him because he's the hot coach right now, but he didn't make the top 10. I don't know. Or maybe someone voted Bill Belichick number one because, like, obviously Bill Belichick's a better coach than Kirby Smart.
I guess
yeah. But yeah, we'll see what he does in college. But yeah, Kirby Smart, unanimous number one. Any thoughts? Is there any like real challenge to Kirby at number one?
I don't really think so, man. I mean, I guess now that Ryan Day has gotten the monkey off his back at Ohio State and won the national championship, there are some people who I'm sure would advocate for him. I would not be one of those people personally, but I think even though Georgia hasn't had the playoff success that it did in the last couple of years as much as it, when it obviously won 2 championships. I still think, yeah, Kirby Smart is still pretty clearly the number one coach in college football, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think that's really the only other argument. I mean, I guess if you want to go resume argument and give Dabo Swinney, but
Yeah.
I mean, where is he? I think they ranked him 3rd, which I would not have him ranked that high, like in my rankings today, because I think Dabo Swinney with his philosophies is not he's not as good of a head coach as some of these guys right now. Like and obviously he's taking some guys in the portal this offseason, but I don't think Dabo Swinney's doing everything he can to build a national championship program like some of these other guys on this list.
Yeah, and Kirby Smart hasn't lost to either of them, I don't think, which I know that the head-to-head is not always the best argument, but I think that's worth mentioning too.
Oh, man, that's a good call. So Kirby's what? 1-0 versus Ryan Day, 2-0 versus Dabo. Shoot, he's 0-1 against Marcus Freeman, who's number 4 on this list.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, Marcus Freeman's a great coach.
And then 2-0 versus Sarkisian to this point. So Kirby's 1-0 versus Lanning, 0-1 versus DeBoer. He's played like this whole list. That's pretty wild. Hadn't played 8, 9, or 10 yet. Well, right when Georgia played Penn State, that wasn't James Franklin, was it? Back in was that 2015? That would have been was James Franklin at? I think he may have been. I'll have to look that up. Can you look that up for me?
Yeah.
When James Franklin got to Penn State, but I remember that was the game Terry Godwin had like a 50-yard touchdown pass or something, right?
Touchdown.
Right. I remember something weird. It's Saquon Barkley. Georgia shut down Saquon Barkley. I think maybe that was freshman, sophomore Saquon.
Yeah, that was James Franklin's 2nd year as the coach.
Okay, so oh shoot, that would have been Kirby though. That was Mark Richt. That wasn't even Mark Richt. That would have been Brian McClendon coaching, right?
Yeah, it was Brian McClendon coaching.
Okay, so Richt or Kirby never beat James Franklin. So, so that's I think and to finish the list, you got Sarkisian at 5, Lanning 6, DeBoer 7, Franklin 8, Whittingham 9, and Matt Campbell at 10. Is there anything you specifically disagree with on this list?
I don't think it's a crazy list, honestly. I like it. I mean, college football, I feel like, is just in a there aren't. I feel like there just aren't that many universally like Titan coaches anymore. There's not a bunch of Nick Saban type of or like Joe Paterno type figures in the game right now. But I agree with Kirby Smart at number 1. I think Ryan Day and Dabo Swinney are deserving to round out the top 3. Maybe some people might have issue with Marcus Freeman being number 4, considering he's pretty young. But, I mean, yeah, he led them to a great year last year, and I mean he's brought that program further than Brian Kelly ever brought it, which I think is kind of funny. Well, I guess he also had them in the national championship one year, but
that's true.
I don't know. I think it's a solid list. Maybe Dan Lanning, you could argue, could be a little bit higher. I like that they have Kyle Whittingham in the top 10. He's a great coach. Yeah, I honestly don't. I don't have I don't really think I have any super crazy thoughts about this list that I can just rant about. Really, I kind of like it.
I think I'm the person that would object to Marcus Freeman being number 4. There's something about Notre Dame's season last year that I don't know. It was a great season on paper, but was it Northern Illinois they lost to last year early on?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just started murdering everyone else they played, but they didn't really play anyone that was very good. And so you got in the playoff, you beat an Indiana team that, we all kind of don't really know how good they were. And then you play Georgia without their starting quarterback. Like, obviously that's the best win of the season. And then I kind of question how good Penn State was the whole season. So we got to the damn semifinals of the of the college football playoff with Notre Dame and Penn State. Like, one of these teams is going to go to the national championship, and I still don't know how good either of them is. Like, it really, it didn't seem. It's kind of felt like the stars aligned for Notre Dame. Like, we everyone talked about how that was the easier side of the bracket, and most people thought that was going to benefit Georgia. But obviously, since Notre Dame beat Georgia, it ended up benefiting them. but I don't know. There's just something he's in. This is his third year at Notre
Yeah,
Dame.
I think so.
Like I don't know. I can't put him ahead of some of these guys. In Lanning, he's only been in 3 years at Oregon as well, but I don't know. They just have felt like a more legit. They both kind of took over programs that were running very well, so they're kind of hard to evaluate in terms of how much did they build the program or how much did they just keep it on the tracks. Notre Dame's definitely recruiting better, but you like in the last few years under Freeman, but you said it, Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly is the biggest miss on this list. I think Brian Kelly is probably a top 5 coach in college football. Like I'm probably putting him after Sarkisian. Like
Top 5.
I'm taking him ahead of Dabo. Like right now, I know he doesn't have 2 national championships, but if I'm actually if Kirby Smart retires tomorrow, Brian Kelly is higher on the list for the coach I want than Dabo Swinney is. They're neither one of them are number 1 or number 2, but I would rather have Brian Kelly as a coach than Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I just feel like we kind of know what Brian Kelly is at this point, and like those other coaches, maybe if it's 100% right now, who do I want to coach my team for one season in 2025 between Dabo Swinney and Brian Kelly? Maybe that's a tougher call, but like
not necessarily one season.
Brian
Like who do you
Kelly,
want taking over long term?
Brian Kelly is a good coach, but I just feel like he's just not as inspiring as some of these other guys.
Yeah.
Like I remember when LSU hired him, it was kind of confusing. It was like when the Milwaukee Bucks hired Doc Rivers. It was like yeah, this is a guy like with a good resume and a solid track record. But are you really that pumped about it? Like that that's how I feel about Brian Kelly. High floor to me, very high floor. We'll run a program, but I mean, look at some of the LSU teams he's had that didn't really go anywhere. I mean, he had the Heisman winner throwing in 2 top 10 receivers, one for sure top 10 receiver, and then another probably future top 10 receiver in the NFL, and they didn't make the playoff. Like,
see his LSU tenure, that's where all of where he's gone down on this list, because I think prior to getting to LSU, he'd be 3 or 4 on this list right now, especially with as few of like national championship coaches as there are right now. Like,
I mean, but even at Notre Dame, they'll just play a weak schedule, not have to play a conference game, make the playoff, and then get blown out. But
isn't that what Marcus Freeman just did? And I honestly, think
because Marcus Freeman won 2 playoff games and made the national championship.
That's true. Won 3 playoff games. No, that's true.
He won 3.
I think the narrative about Notre Dame playing a soft schedule perennially is a little overblown, because I mean they're playing like a national schedule. They're playing ranked teams a good bit, especially now they're in this ACC kind of locked thing. But you look at like Marcus Freeman's best achievement is a college football playoff, a national title appearance. Brian Kelly also had a national title appearance in what, his third year at Notre Dame, in his third year at Notre Dame. Like they got blasted by Alabama, but and then they made 2 14 playoffs after that as well. So like I feel like Brian Kelly was a super consistent coach, and I was not surprised by the hire for LSU, because I felt like LSU. I don't think Les Miles was a good coach. I think Les Miles was like just terrible in game, like would just make some awful decisions, and they almost had too much talent to fail. And then Ed Orgeron, I don't think Ed Orgeron was ever a good coach, but they almost had too much talent to fail. So it's like Brian Kelly is consistently top 5, top 10 at Notre Dame. Now give him the talent at LSU, like they're winning championships. Like that's what I thought.
But they're not doing that though.
No, and that's why. But what is it? 3 years? What, 10-4, 10-3, 9-4. Won the ACC West in year 1. The defense has just been. I'm with you there. Like they wasted a Heisman Trophy winner without a doubt.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm undervaluing what he did achieve, but I don't think it's worth going to war for Brian Kelly being left off. Maybe he probably should have been snuck into the bottom half of the top 10, but I would not have him in my top 5.
Yeah, I would have him top 10. Maybe not top 5. Is there anyone else that didn't make the list that you would have had in your top 5?
I'm trying to think. Not really, honestly.
Like they named a couple here.
I don't have any. I don't have anyone that's just burning, I think.
Yeah, like I said, Brian Kelly, like I feel like everyone loves Lane Kiffin, so I was surprised Lane Kiffin didn't get as many votes. Definitely
I mean,
surprised how low Josh Heupel was.
Belichick
I think
Belichick is a tough one to rank.
yeah, that's true. I
Um,
can't rank Belichick up. Like
yeah.
it's just college football is a completely different beast in the NFL.
Heupel could have been a little higher. Um,
I think
maybe like
Heupel, we're not here
maybe
to
like
say nice
Sark-
things about Tennessee, but I think
Heupel-
Heupel, we kind of like he's kind of a victim of his own success at this point that I think we're kind of forgetting how long Tennessee was just irrelevant as a football program. And now they've had, 2 of the last 3 years finished top 10. Like that's pretty big time for where Tennessee was the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like they were dead, man. Like they were giving recruits money in McDonald's bags and everything. Like it's
Oh
pretty
yeah, and
impressive.
then just the scandal and like the recruiting just struggles because of that too.
Down there. Kirk Ferentz also probably deserved more than one vote. I feel like
I think that's exactly as many votes as he deserved. He deserved one
he's
obligatory
been there
vote.
for so long, and like I know they've just never been good on offense, but they've also just been such a solid program despite that, and I feel like that says a lot. But that's
No, that's
also
true.
getting into that Brian Kelly territory of like you've been coaching forever and don't have a ton to show for it, so you can't be that high. But I don't know. Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty solid list. I mean, everyone's gonna have different opinions. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are gonna say, where's Dion or whatever, and that's fine. But I think this is ESPN is pretty known for posting lists that kind of are designed to piss people off. But I really don't think this is one of them. I think this is a pretty good list.
Yeah, if Dion wins 10 games next year, he's on this list.
Yeah,
Like he's never coached
I
without
think he is.
Shador. Yeah, he's never coached without Shador and Travis Hunter. So it's just so
Judy
early.
Lewis.
Like we'll see if they make noise this year, then it's like okay, Dion's
Yeah,
built a legit program.
for sure.
And they win
We'll
10 games, they're probably in the playoff, I would think, in the Big
Yeah.
12.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a list that he is on. I don't know if you saw this list. ESPN also ranked the head coaches by the best players, and Dion comes in at number 1 on that list.
Who were the best players? Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
the head coaches that are the best players. Have you seen this list?
I haven't seen that. Who else would
Eddie
he?
George, number 2, Josh Heupel, number 3, and then I think it really falls off because Steve Sarkisian. I don't know much about Sarkisian in
Yeah, I
college.
don't either.
For him to be 4, it must drop off. Deshaun Foster, yeah, at 6, he should have been higher on that list. Scott Frost at 9, Dilfer at 8, Scott Frost at
Oh, yeah.
9. Timmy
Bird,
Chang
I think.
probably could have been a little higher. I don't know. Maybe I need to research on what Sarkisian was about. Where did he play?
I
He's like
don't know.
22. Was it Weber? First went to Weber? No, I'm looking at the wrong guy. He was USC baseball player and went to El Camino College. Like he's all American at a JUCO, I guess. But I'm taking Timmy Chang over that. What are we talking
Yeah,
about? He was like all-time leading passer. Kirby came in at 15 on this list. So
okay.
that's perspective.
Interesting. I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, Mike Gundy in the top 5. But yeah, I remember Deshaun Foster was a baller his last year at UCLA. I think that was the same year him and Peter Warwick both had some sort of like Todd Gurley situation, like receiving gifts or something that made them ineligible for the Heisman or something like that. But yeah, and he was on that Panthers team too that went to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
The first Panthers team, I guess, that went to the Super Bowl. Still waiting for their first win, but yeah, so I thought that list was kind of interesting. There's a lot of names on here, a lot of guys that played. Marcus Freeman, Mario Cristobal got in the top 10, the top 20 of that. So
Shout out to Mario Cristobal.
yeah, at the U. So, sir, today it is May 27th, and that means we are 95 days till college football season. It is finally under 100, man. Now it's real. Now that I can have a Georgia player to associate with the number of days left, now it feels real. I don't know about you. I probably do know about you because I don't know anyone that does this. But when I get to the final, like, I don't know, month or so, I'll change my background on my phone each day
Mhm.
to be like number 30. Now we got 29 days. Now at
Okay.
28. Because I'm juiced. And then you see, especially now, it's sick now because on the Apple like screensaver, you can put like multiple pictures. So now it's like, oh, now I
Yeah.
got multiple guys at number 7. So it's sometimes you had to choose between DeAndre Swift and Matthew Stafford, you know. But now
Yeah.
you don't. Now you can get all of them on there. You can
There's
get
other
Quay
changes
Walker on
after
there.
that.
But 95 days, sir. We're not at 7 days. We're
Yeah.
at 95 days. Who is your number 95, best 95 of all time at Georgia?
Well, for me, I would have to go with Devontae Wyatt. He was a huge piece, a huge force for Georgia in the middle for I want to say 4 years. Huge part of a national championship winning team, one of the greatest defenses in the history of the sport, and just a great player for the Bulldogs. I think he's got to be my pick. That's the one that I associate with 95 when it comes to Georgia football. He's pretty good player in the NFL now, and yeah, a damn good dog, as they say.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. I probably can't argue with you there. Devontae Wyatt, that the middle of that great defensive line and that loaded national championship team, being part of that 2021 team is just always going to have a special hold a special place for any player. You know, like you could have been third string on that team. If you were part of that team, you were part of history at Georgia. I think I have two other ones that I would put in this category, which I would rank Devontae Wyatt higher. One of them I got to go back before I was born, sir. I think you're forgetting the WCW heavyweight champion, maybe two-time heavyweight champion. It's Bill Goldberg, sir.
Yeah.
Bill Goldberg from Rams, Falcons, Panthers. But yeah, famously known for wrestling. Bill Goldberg, he was a beast.
Yeah, that's before my time, but I did forget because he did just go. He went on to become a wrestler. That's crazy.
Yeah. He was my favorite wrestler. I feel like third, fourth, fifth grade were the years I was like really into wrestling, and I feel like it was and it was just kind of over by then. Then I became a Georgia football fan and forgot about wrestling. But yeah, he was a first team All SEC in 1989. And a World Bowl champion. I don't even know
World
that.
Bowl.
I
That's
don't know what that
probably that might have been the World Football League. I know that was
is.
a
That World Football League? Oh, he does say he played for the
that
BC
was a
Lions and the Sacramento Surge.
yeah. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna Google it. I'm pretty sure that was a defunct football league that was around for a little bit. It was super dumb.
Okay, yeah. Sacramento Surge. Yeah, they won it 92 over the Orlando Thunder. But
Let's
yeah,
see.
there's Barcelona teams, Frankfurt teams in here.
Sacramento Surge. Wait, okay, that's not this league. Okay, let me Google Sacramento Surge. Oh, they played in the World League of American Football. That's
Gotcha.
okay. That was a league. That was the league that got turned into NFL Europe, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it says it till 2007, 91 to 07. Interesting. But yeah,
Yeah,
Bill
they won the
Goldberg, he
World
was
Bowl. They're the
go ahead.
only. Wait, they played they were part of NFL Europe, I think, and they were just playing other teams that were like in Europe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at their schedule now from the year that they like won the championship, and they're beating teams from like Montreal and London, but also from like Ohio and like San Antonio. So I don't know. Weird league.
That's funny. Do you remember Goldberg as a wrestler?
Not really. I was never really into wrestling.
It's hilarious just reading up on this. It's like because he was known for this like super long undefeated streak, which is just hilarious. It's like, well, you guys are literally writing this. So yeah, he started his career like 50-0 or something, but like his matches would be like 10 seconds long. He would just like spear the dude, and then it's like they're out, and it's just like he was like this sensation. I guess he was kind of like they created their Mike Tyson kind of, just.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Goldberg was wild, man. But then the only other one. Do you have anything else on Goldberg before I
don't.
move on? The only other one I had, I don't know if you remember a guy, Jeff Owens. He was defensive tackle. I think he was out of Florida. But he was on those like Stafford. I think 2008 Georgia had a bunch of injuries. I remember him being one of them. But yeah, Jeff Owens he's a big time recruit. I feel like he was like an underrated player because he had some injury issues at Georgia. But yeah, it was hard to think of a lot of 95s. But Marshall Long, punter, was he number 95? I want to say a couple years ago.
Let me see. Marshall
Also,
Long.
Ely Kelso, Gordon Ely Kelso, was he? I'm pulling out 95s with the punters now.
95.
Let me see here.
Who's the other guy you said?
Gordon Ely Kelso. He was 95 for Georgia. Yeah, he was solid punter. What years was he? Like 2004, something like that. 05. Where was Kelso? 03 to 06. Okay. Yeah. Ely Kelso, solid player. Yeah, so you got to go with the punters if you're going to come up with too many 95s. Yeah, you got to really go deep. All right. What do we got? What do we got next here, sir? New college football playoff format. I don't know if you've seen this. Have you heard about this? What's that?
It's great.
I mean, it's a crazy concept, right? They've gotten rid of the 4 auto bids or auto buys, I should say, for the top 4 conference champions, and now they're going to do this crazy thing where they seed teams 1 through 12 based on them being ranked 1 through 12. It's a crazy concept, but that's what they're going to do this year. So I'm glad they at least, I don't know what they were thinking the first year. And honestly, I think if it wasn't Boise State, it might not have created the outrage that, like, if it was Clemson, like that people kind of thought it was going to be an ACC and Big 12 champion being 3 and 4, there may not have been as much outrage. But I think people saw Boise State and they were like, okay, yeah, Arizona State was a huge mistake too. But I mean, other than the fact that they gave Texas a great game, like it's not like they
were a 4th down away from beating Texas.
But they still, based on how we were going to rank the tournament, they had no business being the 4 seed when they were, were they ranked like 14th or something? I don't even think they were inside the top 12.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they definitely showed up on the big stage. But I think, and this is bracket style too, right? They've talked about reseeding it, but I don't think they're doing that.
Straight up bracket.
Yeah, and I like that. I don't like the reseeding personally. There's something
I like
just cool about the bracket.
I like how the NFL does it, and I think the WNBA also does it.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, but honestly, yeah. If you're gonna seed them straight up, I feel like there's no need to. There would only be a need for reseeding if you were gonna keep the original, like, conference champion seeding thing that they had last year.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I feel like everyone forgets is that Ohio State went 10-2 last year and lost to like 2 of the 3 good teams they played. Like, we all know that Ohio State is like a loaded roster, but it was like this idea that Oregon got shafted because they had to play Ohio State. And it's like, well, Ohio State was the 8th seed and they were the 1 seed.
No, people were
they could have been the 6 or so, but they wouldn't have been much higher. Like, they weren't like this flawless team, even though, I mean, that was part of the reason I think last year was such a failure for Ryan Day, was because he did have like the most loaded roster in the country, and he went 10-2, lost to a mediocre Michigan team,
5-6 Michigan team.
It's like I think people kind of forget that they did beat Indiana, and they beat Indiana, beat Penn State, lost to Michigan, and lost to Oregon.
Yeah,
but so it was like. It's just that brand was just like, oh, now you got to play Ohio State in the second round. It's like, well, yeah, it was an Ohio State team that didn't take care of business this year. It's not like it was the Ohio State team that ran through the Big Ten. It was like we all just kind of knew just from the eye test, like this Ohio State team is too good to lose 2 games. So that was basically it was the exact prediction I had for why I didn't want to expand to 12, was because people thought you were giving a chance to the underdog. But what you were really doing was you were keeping that juggernaut team that didn't have a good season alive, because preseason number 1 Alabama loses 2 games. They're guaranteed. Like, that's how think about how they didn't win some national championships some years. Like the kick
Oh yeah,
six,
it's
like they
ridiculous.
lost one game, didn't
The
make the SEC
the,
championship, didn't
the,
make the champ.
the,
Like
the freaking kick six happened, they would have won the Natty that year.
definitely. Like I'm not betting against Alabama if we had a 4-team playoff at that point. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you make it 12, like those teams that are preseason top 5 that go 10-2, and it's like a disappointing 10-2 season, like a Mark Richt team or something. Like that was preseason number 5, number 6 would go 10-2, lose to the 2 best teams they played. Like
Lose
that
to
team's
South
in the
Carolina.
playoff now. Like what did Tennessee and Texas do to prove that they were teams that were worth winning a
Yeah,
championship?
I mean,
Like
Tennessee beat Alabama. Like they had a decent win that year, but I know I agree with what you're saying mostly. Yeah, it like Ohio State was being talked about so differently entering the playoff. I think anyone saying Oregon got screwed because they had to play them is being a little bit revisionist because it's like they lost to a bad Michigan team with
yeah.
that had no quarterback and no passing game on their own field. And I remember, I mean, Ryan Day was getting ripped apart, man. I think I remember the general state consensus being like, if they don't win the national championship this year, like he's done. Now, granted, they did
Yeah.
win the championship this year, so he is fine. But I mean, yeah, that is what that 12-team playoff does. Is it just leaves the door open for those schools who underachieved, but they have, nowadays with NIL too, they all have NFL rosters at the ready. So it's like, I guess it makes for some cool matchups, but like I was really excited for like Ohio State, Oregon this year, or Ohio State, Tennessee even. And like those games sucked. Like,
Yeah, I mean, Oregon got a raw deal in terms of, if not for Arizona State and Boise State, Ohio State's probably the 6th seed or something. But we all knew what the format was going to be. Like someone like Penn State and Texas were still going to be seeded higher than Ohio State or a Notre Dame or something like that. So it's like, yeah, it really was like those Ohio State fans that wanted to fire Ryan Day, like they were wrong, but they weren't like just completely like, it's not like it was completely unjustified. Like he took over one of the best programs, maybe probably the second best program in the country when Urban Meyer retired. Like, and he's consistently had them as one of the 3rd or 4th best teams in the country every year, but lost to Michigan a 3rd year in a row. It's not like it was just unfounded. We all knew how loaded this roster was. It was literally the worst regular season Ryan Day has ever had. Like that's the team that just won the championship. He's never lost 2 games in a regular season until this year. So it's just interesting how it all worked out, and how, I don't know, this Ohio State run is being called like the greatest championship run of all time. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, they played like 4 games.
they
Like
did go crazy.
the other teams are only playing 2 games. Like, yeah, obviously they played more. They didn't even play a conference championship, but like it was the way the playoff was talked about, like it's impossible for anyone to come out of this bracket. It's like, no, it's a tournament. Someone has to win the tournament. Someone is going to win 3 or 4 games in a row and have a bunch more top 10 wins on their resume. Like that's just how it works. Someone has to win.
Yeah. Every year after this, the next team who wins it's going to be the best championship run every year.
Yeah, it might not be a 4, like winning 4 games, like that's going to be tough, but it's going to be someone who beat 3 top 10 teams most likely like every year.
Even more now because they're changing the seeding. So the teams you beat are going to be even higher seeds.
Yeah. I guess if you're a 1 seed, you could
your first round is probably going to be easier going forward if you're the 1 seed. But every other round
could be.
Every other round is probably going to be harder.
Yeah, it could be, but I mean, like the 1 seed last year, I mean, who would have it been? I think the 8 ends up being like Indiana seed or something. Because I think it was gonna be Georgia or SMU and Tennessee were like the 7-10, I think, that I saw. I can't remember who the 8-9 would have been. Maybe Penn State. I can't remember. No, Penn State wouldn't have been that low. It's not important right now, but
seeds last year.
Yeah, it's like that team, and most likely the 5 beats the 12, most likely the 6 beats 11. So like you're gonna face a top 10 team most likely in that second round, regardless of if you're the 1 through 4 seeds.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't really like the 12-team playoff as it is, but I'd rather have it like this than the way it was last year for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement from 2024. Hey, and don't worry, we're not going to have 12 teams for long, man. Now
I
we're
know
going to
it's
go
gonna
to
be full
16 or 14 or something. I don't know.
32.
And then the regular season games just won't matter at all. And then I
Yeah.
see people like Joel Klatt talking about, and then on conference championship weekend, you'll have the 3 play the 6 and the 4 play the 5 in the SEC, and you're playing for for playoff seeds, and you're just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Like, what? That's basically turning like a 14, 16 team playoff into like a 30 team playoff. Like, what are we doing?
basically.
But yeah, I've heard some crazy ideas. I personally like the 4 team. I don't know, maybe I'm biased because Georgia won 2 national titles during that 4-team playoff era. But I feel like everyone loves the BCS. You know, people romanticize the BCS. So I wish we'd just go back to 2 teams. I just can't get past the year where Auburn 04 Auburn was one of the best teams I've ever seen. Like, there's a lot of good SEC teams that like 06 Florida, who just like scratch and claw their way through the SEC, and then they murder the Big Ten champ that they play.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like there was Auburn was just destroying everyone they played that year. And then they go undefeated, and there's 2 other undefeated teams. And so they're just, nope, you guys don't win it this year. It's like, I feel like the 14 playoff is essentially the BCS with like some wiggle room. Like, obviously, yeah, like there's the last year of it was really the one year that they really got into a pickle in 2023 when you had 3 undefeated conference champions, but one of them was FSU without Jordan Travis, and then Texas just happened to play Alabama that season, so you had to keep Texas one spot ahead of wherever you had Alabama. And I think the Alabama bias, ultimately they were like, dude, Alabama going 12-1, winning the SEC, we can't keep them out. But I'm not going to argue with any FSU fan that says they got hosed that year. Like, you went 13-0. Who's to say you FSU couldn't have found a way to rally around their backup QB? Like, bunch of NFL talent on that team.
Obviously, like, they did go on to lose to Georgia by 60, but
63-3.
But I do agree with you. I still, yeah, they should have been in there, man. They went 13-0 when they won their conference, and they were told no. Like, that's wrong.
It was the perfect scenario for the SEC champion to be left out, and I think they couldn't fathom a playoff to leave out a one-loss SEC champion at that. But it's like, you got 3 undefeated teams, and then the Big 12 champion literally beat the SEC champion. It's like head to head. I don't know. And that Alabama team, I don't think it wasn't one of Saban's best Alabama teams by any means, but they did win the SEC, and I feel like I'm glad they got in, because Bama fans would probably be claiming 2023 if they didn't get in that playoff, you know, like, oh, the playoff wasn't legit since they kept Bama out.
Oh, man, they totally would.
But yeah, losing 63-3 definitely killed their argument. But we all know they had like 20 dudes, if not more, sitting out that game. Like, it was insane.
I know, exactly. It wasn't the same.
But to hear them after the fact build a statue or whatever, a plaque, and for 13-0 and unconquered and all this, is like,
pulling a UCF.
You guys played 14 games that year. What do you did you forget about one in Miami there at the end of the season?
That one doesn't count.
Oh man. And then to follow it up with 2-10 this year is just, what a roller coaster to be a Florida State Seminoles fan right now.
Bro. It's insane. I feel like we're only gonna see stuff like that happen more and more now with the portal and NIL and everything. Like, these rosters are so fickle now.
I think that's true. And if you want to just go all in for like 1 year or something, like maybe do that, go 97 Florida Marlins on them, and just build a team for 1 year and then get rid of it after that. Who knows? And then private equity gets into college football, and the Saudis get into college football. Who knows what kind of money we start seeing in this?
We're like 5 years away.
Oh, and I don't even think we talked about Kirby Smart. I think I with his comments on the.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that.
We went right over that because
we titled the episode about that.
yeah, we literally did title the episode about that. We went straight to the coaching rankings, but yeah, Kirby Smart's comments on the portal. about how he wants one portal window, or I guess that's what he said, right? The biggest question
Yeah.
is, when do you have the one window?
Mhm.
Because the two windows is just kind of unsustainable. I don't know if you have the
Yeah.
exact quote in front of you, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about that, and I I don't know about you. I'll get your opinion first. My first thought is, for one, I wish they would end the season like January, like January 1, January 2, like right at the start of January. And then I personally think this is where college football ends up going, is that at some point there's some sort of separation with the teams that truly want to play Division 1 football and the rest that, kind of go down to the next classification. Maybe it's 100 teams, maybe it's 60 teams, maybe it's 30 teams, like I don't know. But I think at some point there's a true Division 1, and all of those schools will not be allowed to start class until like January 24th or something like that. And so you have this window that's basically football is king at these big universities,
Yeah.
and you just have to move the academic calendar back a little bit so that these guys can
That would be
finish the
so
football
funny.
season. And then we have a 2-3 week period of the portal, because it's just ridiculous that we're dealing with playoff games and players are going in the portal, and we're having to
Yeah.
follow recruiting and new head coaches and basically free agency in the sport while the postseason is happening. It totally kills just the momentum of the season, really.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I just like, are these schools really going to change the academic calendar to accommodate the transfer portal?
I mean, what was do you know what the first day of class was at UGA this January?
It was like the 7th or 8th, I think.
It's like, what does it really do to the university to move that back like one extra week, 2 weeks at tops? I don't know. I think it has that big of a
Like, it
deal
would just be
on the
so
sport.
funny / ridiculous to do that.
Would the academic people get mad?
I think it would be pretty. It would be really like. Can you imagine what would be written about that if all these major universities amended their academic calendar to allow football players to transfer there at a more convenient time?
I mean, wouldn't it make sense though? These guys have to be
Yes, yes.
disrupting classes and
If you're
stuff,
no, if you're
right? What's the
yeah,
add drop period?
it's like 2 weeks after the first day of class
I
or
don't.
something.
I wonder how these guys are doing school. They don't go to play school, as Cardell Jones famously said.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't kind of play school. They
But
don't.
I mean, you got to do something. As far, you have to enroll in classes. You have to
Yes,
be
you do.
be taking a certain number of credits to be an eligible player, right? So
Yeah,
I know a lot of people want the January window, and that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I would go the January window, and I would go back to the February signing day. I might move the February signing day back to like late February, because the NFL season needs to end so all these coaches can go wherever they're going. And we famously remember Roquan Smith was about to go to UCLA before their D coordinator decided to take the Falcons job. And it's like, that guy knew he was going to take another job, but he had to recruit this high schooler. Like, you're turning all of these coaches into liars, because that's what they
yeah,
have to do to get these high schoolers to sign, and then they take the next best job in a couple weeks. Like, just stuff like that. We just need to clean the sport up. But so I feel like the January window does make sense. But I saw this, and this opinion, I think, was just in the comments on one of these articles on Twitter. Like, what is preventing now in the NIL era a player who gets a bunch of money and the academic calendar is over? He's not even on scholarship. He's paying his scholarship because he doesn't need the money, right? And he finishes his classes in May and then goes and rolls in another school. Are you going to say that that guy's ineligible? Like, I don't think you really can. I don't know how you can not have two windows, because of the academic calendar. I think you kind of have to have the after the fall semester and after the spring semester, because any other student would be able to transfer schools in those
yeah.
periods.
It's just a symptom of, I think, college sports being turned more and more into a professional model, where like you're starting to see like examples of that directly clashing with like school and academia and being a college student. So like, yeah, I can't really disagree with Kirby Smart saying that there should be a one window and it should probably be in January. Because in a perfect world, yeah, that's the best time to do it. Mike Elko in the same article says something like, "Yeah, every other sport has one free agency period before the season starts. We
Oh,
have
is that
two
right?
basically." Yeah, which that's what the portal is now. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Like it is college football free agency. But
Well,
I don't
when
know.
start
I don't think there's any answer as to like can you adopt this or not because it would be such a radical departure from like school and
yeah.
being a university. You would be changing the school to accommodate football, and I just think there's enough people at at those universities that would probably take issue with that to where I just don't think it would ever could be implemented like en masse. That's just my thought, though. I don't know.
But I mean, it's like the not to get political here, but it's like the military budget. It's like I don't know. It feels like the military budget finds ways. Like we don't know how we'll pay for some things, but the military finds ways to get all the money they need. Right? It's like it feels like the football programs kind of fund the rest of the university. So if there was one sport that was going to kind of dictate the calendar of the entire university, I feel like it would be football. And I feel like that's kind of what I mean. It's going to be some sort of post like breakup era, like great split type of era of like, okay, if you want to play big time Division I football, like this is kind of what we're requiring. And I think there's a lot of schools that are like, no, we're not really willing to do sacrifice our academics in any way, or like, we're not willing to spend what it takes, whatever it is, Vanderbilt, Stanford, or something, and just like, nah, we're good. We'll play D2 football and be good with that. I don't. I think you could see something like that. Also, to your other point about Mike Elko, when is that one portal after the other sports? Is it after like the spring classes end?
Yeah, he's talking about the spring portal too. He's saying because they have the December portal, the one that like Nitro Tuggle entered, and then you have the spring portal where like Georgia got the like Josh McCray.
Yeah,
That's what he's talking about.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But in those other sports,
Well, he's
the
saying like
one window is after the academic calendar ends, right?
well, no, he's comparing it to professional sports leagues. He's saying like the
He's not
NFL and the
saying
NBA
this
and
is how
MLB,
college
yeah.
basketball or
He's
baseball
saying
works.
he's saying like because his point is like yeah, like college football has become like those sports in terms of it having a de facto free agency period. It's just that's what it is though. It's a de facto free agency period, and there's technically two of them. Whereas those professional leagues obviously have defined like periods for that.
Gotcha.
But
Okay,
they
that
can
makes
do
more
that. They can
sense.
do that because they're not bound by
And
academic.
you're the NFL guy here. So
Yeah,
you would know free agency is before the draft, right?
yeah, pretty
So
much.
I
I mean,
feel
like
like that would
you
make
can
sense.
obviously still sign people after the draft, but all
Yeah.
of the big names are gone before the draft. 99%.
But yeah, you have the season ends January. You have free agency immediately after it ends, which already sucks, but it's like,
Yeah,
whatever, you got to do what you got to do. And then to have the draft, quote unquote, signing day in like March or something like that, or late February when some of the dust settles, like that would make a lot of sense too. But, and obviously, like, even before, like, I go back to Matthew Stafford a lot because that's like some of my earliest kind of being real locked into recruiting. Like Stafford was an early enrollee, and that was like early signing day. What 2018? I want to say that Fields class. I think that was the first early
that was
signing day. So like you could enroll early, way before they had the early signing period. So I'm not even sure why the early signing period came around in the first place because you could have still enrolled somewhere in January and not waited to sign in February. So I don't know why. I think the early signing period to me is like one of the worst changes. Like I saw some poll the other day, which this could be a whole nother topic that we should do probably one day. But it was just like, which of these change? I think it was the Voice of College Football that posted this poll of just like, which of these changes like did the most, like kind of irritated you the most, I think for lack of a better
yeah.
word. And it was just like NIL, transfer portal, college football playoff expansion, conference realignment. It was like, dude, I really don't know which of those like changed things the most. Like there's just so many changes that have happened in this sport. I wish the dust would settle a little bit before we continue to make all these changes.
Yeah, there's just some like I think the sport just got out of hand so fast, and now we have all of these structural issues that we're just not well thought out about at all, and we're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm sure they're just gonna have to keep applying different band-aids to it. The sport is such a mess, man.
Yeah, it really does feel like a mess right now. So hopefully, luckily, Georgia's got the top coach in college football to try to navigate through this mess. But man, that's one thing that's frustrating too, is that like it was said as kind of a derogatory term about Kirby Smart early on. He's just a recruiter. He can't coach. He can't develop either. He just knows how to get the talent.
Yeah.
Wow, how dumb that was. But that's one thing that sucks, is that we do have the best recruiter in college football, and recruiting starting to seem less and less important. Building those relationships and all of that. It's about a salary cap and how many dollars you can get.
About the back now.
So that's another frustrating aspect, even if Kirby is still, one of the best, if not the best coach around.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that all day, just how everything's different now because of the money. It's just, I don't even know, man. Like, I don't know. I feel like we get stuck on this every week, and every week it's just me being like, like just college football is just, it doesn't really feel reversible at this point. We can't put the genie back in the bottle, so it's gonna be really interesting to see what changes they're able to actually implement going forward, and which ones are just gonna get struck down by the autonomy of the players and the coaches now. So,
yeah,
well, not really,
and that's why so many things it feels like they can't. Maybe that's, and they like these violating antitrust law. It's like every time they take the NCAA to court, they lose. So or you win, I should say, every time you take the NCAA to court. So it's like if you tried to make something like, okay, if you're a post spring transfer, then maybe you can't. Maybe you have to sit out a year or something like that. Like the SEC's already made that you can't transfer in conference. Curious to see how long a rule like that lasts before someone's takes it to the courts. But yeah, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think most people agree with Kirby Smart. Like, we just need some sort of rules, something to keep the guardrails to kind of get the sport back on the tracks. But kind of changing the topic a little, Jackson Johnson, I guess really changing the topic. Jackson Johnson tuning in here. Appreciate you chiming in, Jackson. If the SEC stays at 8 or goes to 9, I wonder how it affects UGA Auburn rivalry. Because talking about 8 or 9 conference games, I think that's only a matter of time for Georgia to go to 9, or for the SEC to go to 9 conference games. I'm here for it. I think going to 9 is one of the things that could actually preserve a Georgia Auburn rivalry.
I hope it moves it back to November.
Oh man, I'm definitely here for that.
I hate that it gets played in the first week of October now. I would much rather that game move back to the end of the season and just have that replace. Like, why the hell was Georgia playing UMass in November this past year? The SEC has no business having cupcake ham sandwich games being played in November when it gets cooler. So I would hope if they go to 9, that would allow them to put Auburn back there in November where they belong, and then bring back, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, whomever.
I think NFL fans must think college football fans are such babies about stuff like this.
Yeah, I know.
Play a coach, play a team whenever, but it really was just like a vibe. Like, you play Auburn when it's cold.
That's all it is.
And you play South Carolina like the second or third week. Like, it's like that's the thing we do. I kind of got used to Tennessee now because it was an SEC East game. Like, that's kind of cool. You're playing a high stakes SEC East game down the stretch. And that became the November game. I had adjusted to that, and now that's going to be third week of the season next year. So they keep throwing us off. But yeah, I'm with you. The November cupcakes, I've always said it gives the other conferences ammunition to talk trash about the SEC and their schedules. Like, the schedules are tougher in the SEC every year. Oh, you're playing UMass the second to last game of the season.
Which is valid.
But that's because he didn't play them the second week of September. But they should just stick those games at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's fine. But get your Tennessee Techs of the world. Yeah, play those teams in September. And when we get to November, man, it should be full steam ahead, I feel like. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think going to 9 games. I think a rivalry like Georgia Auburn, it gets preserved. Something like Alabama Tennessee gets preserved. But with this conference just being as big as it is, you're gonna lose those like secondary rivalries. Like
Yeah.
like Florida. Auburn and Florida. Auburn is the closest team in the SEC geographically to Florida. They played every
Hmm.
single year up until like
Damn.
from like the 20s to like 1995 or something. And
Yeah.
now Florida Auburn's a rivalry we like basically never get,
Yeah, we get it
like,
every 2 years when
and
it's
yeah, at some point, Georgia Tennessee, we might lose that one. That's not a quote unquote rivalry. It
yeah.
felt like for a while, Georgia was probably South Carolina's biggest rival in the SEC. And we didn't
Yeah.
see that one in 2024. So I saw a House Divided the other day flag LSU Auburn. And I feel like that's always
Yeah.
been such an
I
underrated
I love that
rivalry.
game. Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably going to be one if you can only lock a couple games up. Auburn's got to lock up Alabama. They got to lock up Georgia. You're going to miss some of those other just traditionally great games. And that's why one of my biggest beefs in all the changes is the conference realignment that's changed. I can adjust to the SEC too, being 16, seeing Oregon and Iowa playing conference games, UCLA and Ohio State playing
Right.
conference games. It's just absurd. Like this, we should have. I stay locked into college football from noon, probably earlier than noon because
I
I'm usually watching game day from noon to like midnight, and it's just awesome having those West Coast games starting at 10 o'clock. We needed a conference on the West Coast, so I don't know. Seeing all these West Coast teams playing in the Big Ten,
oh,
Stanford and Cal playing the ACC, I
oh,
think that's what's like driven me over the edge.
sorry. I think our connection is just screwed. I think I might have. I don't know how that's gonna look in the video, but I might have been talking at the exact same time as you because I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Oh
But
man,
yes,
no worries. I hope not. I didn't notice it.
we just lost
Um
like 2 viewers. I think it's probably because the stream was like incoherent.
okay. Sorry about that, folks. Come on back. We got it figured out. But the last one, I don't know if you had a note about the Olympic flag football
Oh
allowing NFL players.
yeah, I love that, man. I'm ready to watch the U.S. just go crazy on some underdeveloped nations in flag football. I want to watch some guy from some accountant try to guard Justin Jefferson. Like I feel like that's gonna be awesome.
Do you feel for these like flag football players that are salty that like we're professional flag
Um,
football players? We're better than these guys
yeah,
at flag football. Like,
but the counter argument that I saw to that I really can't disagree with is someone was like, well, yeah, that's what like the professional 3-on-3 basketball players said before this year's Olympics, and the U.S. got like second to last or something like that. And it's like, well, meanwhile, the actual U.S. Olympic basketball team won the gold, of course. Shout out to Stephen Curry, but I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. I'm sure I know where that's coming from. I understand why. I mean, that's their life. Is they're professional flag football players and they devote their lives to it. So of course they feel insulted when everyone starts talking about the NFL players doing it. But like, I have a hard time believing that the way that they play flag football specifically would make them so much better at it than if like Jamar Chase just started playing, just put a flag on. I'm taking him
you don't
every time.
understand, Jamar. With flags, it's a
Yeah.
way different sport. You wouldn't understand this
Like,
sport.
dude, come on. You would sound ridiculous saying that.
It's like when like you had played freshman basketball and then when you got to the tournament, like some of those freshmen that were playing JV would like come down to your team. It's
Yeah.
like, well, these guys have been on the team all year. Now we're bringing in these guys. Obviously, they're better players. They're playing JV as
Yeah.
freshmen, but what the hell? This is our team,
Like, what are these guys doing here? Get them off the court.
But yeah, I was thinking. So, who are some of the Georgia players? Like, here's some of the first Georgia players playing flag football that jumped out to me. I feel like DeAndre Swift is the perfect flag football
He'd
player.
be
Like,
amazing in
just
flag
the
football.
jukes can't be touched. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta love the guys that are the power backs, but I don't know how much the power backs are helping you in flag football. So I feel like DeAndre Swift is my first pick if I'm taking former Georgia players.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be amazing. If I can, like, that's any former Georgia player all time ever.
I mean, you can go all back all time if you want. I'm
Okay.
thinking recent, but who are you
Okay,
thinking?
recent. Okay, if we're sticking to like the Kirby Smart era, DeAndre says it's a really great one. I would go with Brock Bowers too. I think that's the other just crazy just getting open, creating separation athlete
that's
that
definitely
Georgia
true. Would you
had.
go Bowers ahead of McConkey?
Oh, maybe because I guess tight ends aren't really as much of a thing in flag football. I'm
Like you just
guessing
have someone who can just break someone off, like, and
because
go
it's 7-on-7.
untouched.
So yeah, McConkey would be a good one because he can just route people up. Shoot, who else would be? Like I'm trying to think of like a sneaky good. And I guess we're only going offensive players.
I wrote a couple defensive guys down.
Okay.
Some sleepers.
Who do you have for defense?
On defense, I have Nakobe Dean.
Okay.
And at the like a linebacker's really good in coverage, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
at the safety spots, here's the wild card. I got Malachi Starks, just great
Okay, I
ball
was gonna
skills,
say
you know.
I was thinking
And then
about
what
that.
about Dominic Sanders? Dominic Sanders had a
Ooh.
nose for the ball. You know, these guys
Yeah,
that hit hard, like that's cool. That doesn't necessarily help you in flag football. I need a guy back there getting picks.
yeah, he can sit back and read everything out and react. I kind of like that. That is a solid sleeper pick. You could, I mean, I would have Richard LeCount in that same mold.
Oh, Richard LeCount,
As a ball hawking guy. Malachi Starks, I think, is definitely the best type of player for that.
Like I want Javon Bullard and Dan Jackson on my rugby team.
Yeah. Flag football, you just need freak athletes who are quick, right? So, like, those guys on defense are great. Starks, Lad McConkey is another great one. Like, who are some of the other?
I got Sony Michel on here, underrated juke game, and obviously the versatility too. Isaiah McKenzie, huge joystick.
Yeah, Isaiah
they
McKenzie
got
would be good.
him.
George Pickens would be insane for jump balls.
George Pickens. Yeah, definitely Pickens for sure. A.D. Mitchell, another just great route runner and just great hands. My question here is though, I don't watch flag football. Are you throwing downfield a lot in flag football, or do you need an athlete back there?
I think so.
I think like Stetson is probably the best candidate for being like a dual threat. But you also maybe you throw Mecole Hardman at quarterback. Maybe you throw Terry Godwin at quarterback.
What about Justin Fields?
Are we counting Justin Fields? He's easily.
I mean, he had that helmet on. Mecole Hardman at quarterback, that would be radical, but it could work. I mean,
I just know he played quarterback in high school. A lot of these guys have, but
Stetson, I feel like I would want a better athlete than Stetson back there, but he can scoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
If we're claiming Justin Fields,
I think you do want a dual threat. So Justin Fields, but yeah, I know certain people don't consider him a Bulldog. So I guess Stetson will be second. That still feels like a very different player from Justin Fields. So I have a weird feeling about doing that, but I don't know.
But we've mentioned him a second time on the podcast now. But I think Terry Godwin. I think if you get an athlete back there, they can just throw it 20 yards or something. If that's all they have to do, or you're just lateral in it and doing crazy plays like that. Like I see him doing flag football. I don't know. He could be another candidate at quarterback.
Possibly.
All right, man. That's all I got for the show this week. Baseball team got the 7 seed nationally. They're in action on Sunday night, so hopefully they can get to their first College World Series since 2008. My senior year in high school when the Fresno State Bulldogs knocked them off. What was it Gordon Beckham on that team?
Oh yeah.
Beckham was a stud. Oh, and also I'll leave you with this. It wasn't a paid nugget. So those sites, those 24/7 and On3, if they're putting insider information out, you can't be giving out paid nuggets. But it was on the podcast. Rusty Mansell, as he was signing off, said this probably won't be a quiet week on the recruiting trail. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know who it is that George is going to get, but could be getting a commit or two this week.
Let's see what we have to talk about next week.
Yes, sir. But for that guy over there, Bo Underwood, I'm your host, Matt Green. And as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Did I end it?